አራዳኛው አገሬ ኢትዮጵያ ኩሪ ይገባሻል ተውደኑና አራዳማን ማነው አራዳኛው ሀገሬ ኢትዮጵያ ኩሪ ይገባሻል የማያስደፍሩ ጀግና ልጅ ወልደሻል ደመን ማነው ወረደኔው ተውደኑና አራዳማን ማነው አንተ መንገደኛ ልጠይቅህ ወሬ ከአባቴ ባድማ ተጠምዷል ወይ በሬ መጠመዱንማ ተጠምዶ ነበረ ደመለኛው ወይፈን ማነቂያ ሰበረ ደመን ማነው ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ ዘራፍ አገሬ ኢትዮጵያ ጥቁርም አይደለሽ ጥቁር ነሽ አሉ ነጭም አይደለሽ ነጭ ነሽ አሉ ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ ዱብ ያለው እንደ በረዶ በልጅነቱ በረሃ ወርዶ በረሃ ዳሪ በሰው ጠመንጃ ወንዝ አሻጋሪ ሱሪ ዝቅ ጠጉር ፈተላ አሬት መጣብኝ ይወሮ በላ እዚህ ቁጭ ብሎ ደም ከሚያፈላ ስደደው አባይ ገድቦ ይብላብላት ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ እያት ሽመሌ ባለች ቀጭነች ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ አረጃሎ ባባ አራዳማን ማነው አራዳኛው ተውደኑና አራዳማን ማነው አራዳኛው ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ አሁንም ዘራፍ ጥቅልል ዘራፍ ማን ይነካታል የጀግናን በራፍ ዘራፍ ተወዶ ዘራፍ ሲታጠቅ ልቡ አይሸበር ሆዱ አይጨነቅ ከጥላት ጋር የሚደባለቅ ጠላት ሲመጣ እንደንፈርሶ ቁጭ ብሎ ቆየው 30 አጉርሶ በ30ም 30 ገሎ ገባበት ውጅም ጓንጫ ወድሮ አረካጅሬ የጠባው ጥጃ አንዱን በጥፊ አንዱን በርግጫ ሩበላተ ራበላተ እኛ እንግሊዞች እኛ ጣሊያኖች የቸገራቸው በጎንደር ቢሉ ማን ሊፈራቸው መይሳው አስሮ መድፍ አሰራቸው መድፉም ይገኛል ዳፋት ያለው ደብረ ታቦር ላይ ዳፋት ያለው ያነ መድፋቸው ለውርደታቸው ምስክር ነው ራበልዬ የዛ ጀግና አገር የዛ ሰውዬ በረጅን አልቢን ያሰኛል ወዬ ራበላተ መላው ጠፍታቸው ሲደናገሩ ለተንኮላቸው ጎጀን ይዳሉ ጎጃም ሽፈራው በላይ ሽፈራው ተቀበላቸው እያቆረጡ አባይ ጣላቸው አራይሰማ ራበላተ ያውረታቸው ሲደናገሩ ለተንኮላቸው ሲደናገሩ ለምጠታቸው ወሎ እንዲዳሉ ወሎስ ቢሄዱ ንጉሥ ሚካኤል ተቀበላቸው አጼ ምኒልክ የዓድዋው ጀግና ከጣይቱ ጋር ጠላት የመታ ስሙ ይነሳል በሁሉ ቦታ ማለት ሴራው ይክሸፍበት ማማ የመጣብሽ አድማ እግሩ ሳር ያድርገው ጉልበቱን ቀጤማ አይሰማም ካቀባበለብሽ ብረት ከደገነ አምላክ ያግዝልሽ ላንቺ የወገነ ሴራው ይክሸፍበት የመጣብሽ አድማ እግሮ ሳር ያድርገው ጉልበቱን ቀጤማ ጸሎትሽ ይሰማ አምላክ ፈተና ዋይለቅ የሚፈታተንሽ አንገትሽ ራስሽን ችሎ ለየውላ ማግስቱን ይውሰደኝ 10 ሞት ይምጣና እስከለይ እማማ ላንቺ የማይተኙ የማያንገላፉ የሚበሉ እንደ ጉም ከምድረ ገጽ ይጥፉ። ኢትዮጵያ ለዘላለም ከፍ ትበል። እወዳቸዋለሁ። አመሰግናለሁ። ሰውደኑና አራዳማን ማነው አራዳኛው አገሬ ኢትዮጵያ ኩሪ ይገባሻል። ሰውደኑና አራዳማን ማነው አራዳኛው ሀገሬ ኢትዮጵያ ኩሪ ይገባሻል። የማያስደፍሩ ጀግና ልጅ ወልደሻል። ደመን ማነው ወረደኔው ሰውደኑና ኧረ ደመን ማነው አንተ መንገደኛ ልጠይቅህ ወሬ ከአባቴ ባድማ ተጠምዷል ወይ በሬ መጠመዱንማ ተጠምዶ ነበረ ደመለኛው ወይፈን ማነቂያ ሰፈረ ደመን ማነው ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ ዘራፍ አገሬ ኢትዮጵያ ጥቁርም አይደለሽ ጥቁር ነሽ አሉ ነጭም አይደለሽ ነጭ ነሽ አሉ ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ ዱብ ያለው እንደ በረዶ በልጅነቱ በረሃ ወርዶ በረሃ ዳሪ በሰው ጠመንጃ ወንዝ አሻጋሪ ሱሪ ዝቅ ጸጉር ፈተላ አሬት መጣብኝ ይወሮ በላ እዚህ ቁጭ ብሎ ደም ከሚያፈላ ስደደው አባይ ገድ ወይ ብላ ብላታ Mind the way.
No, they're all coming now, so we have to put it back down. Yay! Well done! Well done. people to move up a bit more, and then you just have to wait. Welcome. Yes. Nice. Welcome. Oh, that's a long walk. Our feet look tired. Yeah, here's the runners. On the front, or just wait a minute, 1 minute. Or if you get them going. Welcome. Where's the music? The sound, you know. I don't know if you've been, it was louder than that. Sure, they just took a sound tune they played. Welcome.
Just start to call some Amharic tune and just teeth the sound from it, and just run with it. See it there?
Alright, they're gone now, they're gone.
I have to go reclaim my sound in a minute.
Alright. Get everybody to the front.
I'm going to get the cost I'm going to do.
Nice to see you.
Yes, brother.
Like international meetings. It's amazing. Well done.
Did you get down there? Aye. Oh, thank you.
A few more. We're going to get everybody run onto the ground. This gentleman can come in.
Yeah.
Well, he can't come in.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember which is the walk.
Yeah.
With the,
Oh, right, yeah.
So I think it needs to come back.
Okay, yeah. When the time is getting more warmer, doesn't it?
Okay.
So imagine you wasn't there, then you wouldn't have
Let's park it at this side and we go around to the... Or even at the back, not to get anywhere.
Actually, that was a bit worse, but we could have put the directions from the night.
Yeah, did I go this way? Because we thought you were coming the straight road, but you walked around.
Yeah, they took a long walk.
Right, okay.
So we're all going to be...
I couldn't use the program. Yeah, makes sense. Nice to walk.
Is this person blind?
The person that started this. Thank you. Welcome. Oh, nice. All right, we're going to run to the front. Right,
Welcome.
Let's get everyone on the front lawn for a photo.
Okay. Front lawn.
On the front lawn, everybody!
Okay. የት ናችሁ? ኦ የኔ ጌታ ላወራዎት አልችልም። በኋላ ደውሎታል። ሰው እየቀዳሁ ነው። እሺ እሺ፣ ደውላችኋለሁ። እሺ
Thank you very much.
You know, my guys must have lost. I haven't seen them. Have they? ወደዛ ሌላ እይታ ላይ ለዘላሳ
የጀግኖች ሀገር የአዳም እግር አሻራ ፈለገግ ይሆን ያንቺ ስም ሲጠራ እንኳን ሰማይ ላይ ባንዲራሽን አይቶ ሲጠራ ማን የሚላል ሰምቶ እንኳን ሰማይ ላይ ባንዲራሽን አይቶ ኢትዮጵያ ሲባል ማን የሚላል ሰምቶ እስኪ ወደ ላይ ባርባራ ታሪኩ ነብይ አይተው ቀሩ ኢትዮጵያን አትንኩ በእንሷንሳ በአንተው ሰማይ ላይ ቢታይ ቀለም ሌላ አይደለም የመጪው ዘመን ፊት ናት መሪ ዛሬ ዓለም ብላት ኋላ ቀሪ ሰውኝ ውጣልኝ ልጥራት ደጋግሜ ኢትዮጵያ ማለት ለእኔ አይደለም ስሜ እናት በሌላ ይቀር እንጂ አላነሳም እናት ሆና ተስፋ አልቆርጥም በሷ የእሷን ውለታ ከፍሎ ሳይጨርሰው ኢትዮጵያ ሲባል እስኪ አብረን ኢትዮጵያ ሀገሬ ሀገሬ ኢትዮጵያ ኢትዮጵያ ሀገሬ ሀገሬ ታምራላችሁ በጣም በምስራቅ ችግር ከምድረሽ ሞሎ ሞሎ ሰው ደኑና አራዳ ማንማኔው አራዳኛው አገሬ ኢትዮጵያ ኩሪ ይገባሻል። ሰው ደኑና አራዳ ማንማኔው አራዳኛው ሀገሬ ኢትዮጵያ ኩሪ ይገባሻል። የማያስደፍሩ ጀግና ልጅ ወልደሻል። ደመን ማነው ወረደኔው ሰው ደኑና ኧረ ደመን ማነው አንተ መንገደኛ ልጠይቅህ ወሬ ከአባቴ ባድማ ተጠምዷል ወይ በሬ መጠመዱንማ ተጠምዶ ነበረ ደመለኛው ወይፈን ማነቂያ ሰበረ ደመን ማነው ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ ዘራፍ አገሬ ኢትዮጵያ ጥቁርም አይደለሽ ጥቁር ነሽ አሉ ነጭም አይደለሽ ነጭ ነሽ አሉ ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ ዱብ ዱብ ያለው እንደ በረዶ በልጅነቱ በረሃ ወርዶ በረሃ ዳሪ በሰው ጠመንጃ ወንዝ አሻጋሪ ሱሪ ዝቅ ዝቅ ጸጉር ፈተላ አሬት መጣብኝ ይወሮ በላ እዚህ ቁጭ ብሎ ደም ከሚያፈላ ስደደው አባይ ገድ ወይ ብላ ብላ ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ እያት ሽመሌ ባለች ቀጭነች ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ አረጃሎ ባባ አረዳ ማንማኔው አረዳኔው ሰው ደኑና አረዳ ማንማኔው አረዳኔው ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ አሁንም ዘራፍ ቅድምም ዘራፍ ማን ይነካታል የጀግናን በራፍ ዘራፍ ተወዶ ዘራፍ ሲታጠቅ ልቡ አይሸበር ሆዱ አይጨነቅ ከጠላት ጋር የሚደባለቅ ጠላት ሲመጣ እንደንፈርሶ ቁጭ ብሎ ቆየው 30 አጉርሶ በ30ም 30 ገሎ ገባበት ውጅም ጓንጫ ወድሮ ኧረ ካጅሬ የጠባው ጥጃ አንዱን በጥፊ አንዱን በርግጫ ራበላተ እኒያ እንግሊዞች እኒያ ጣሊያኖች የቸገራቸው በጎንደር ቢሉ ማን ሊፈራቸው መይሳው አስሮ መድፍ አሰራቸው መድፉም ይገኛል ዳፋት ያለው ደብረ ታቦር ላይ ዳፋት ያለው ያነ መድፋቸው ለውርደታቸው ምስክር ነው ራበልዬ የዛ ጀግና አገር የዛ ሰውዬ በረጅን አልቢን ያሰኛል ወዬ ራበላተ መላው ጠፍታቸው ሲደናገሩ ለተንኮላቸው ጎጀን ይዳሉ ጎጃም ሽፈራው በላይ ሽፈራው ተቀበላቸው እየቆረጡ አባይ ጣላቸው ኧረ አይሰማ ራበላተ ያውታቸው ሲደናገሩ ለተንኮላቸው ሲደናገሩ ለምጠታቸው ወሎ እንዲዳሉ ወሎስ ቢሄዱ ንጉሥ ሚካኤል ተቀበላቸው አጼ ምኒልክ የዓድዋው ጀግና ከጣይቱ ጋር ጠላት የመታ ስሙ ይነሳል በሁሉ ቦታ ብላት
So I got amazing. I'm going to check the...
ሰራዊት ሸፍበት ማማ የመጣብሽ አድማ እግሩ ሳር ያድርገው ጉልበቱን ቀጤማ አይሰማም ካቀባበለብሽ ብረት ከደገነ አምላክ ያግዝልሽ ላንቺ የወገነ ሴራው ይክሸፍበት የመጣብሽ አድማ እግሮ ሳር ያድርገው ጉልበቱን ቀጤማ ጸሎትሽ ይሰማ አምላክ ይለመንሽ ፈተና ዋይለቅ የሚፈታተንሽ አንገትሽ ራስሽን ችሎ ለየውና ማግስቱን ይውሰደኝ 10 ሞት ይምጣና እስካለኝ እማማ ላንቺ የማይተኙ የማያንገላፉ ቁም ይበሉ እንደ ጉም ከምድረ ገጽ ይጥፉ። ኢትዮጵያ ለዘላለም ከፍ ትበል። እወዳቸዋለሁ። አመሰግናለሁ።
Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? Didn't say someone. Did someone didn't say? Can you hear us okay? Yes? Hello, hello, hello.
Can you hear me, sir?
Can you hear me okay?
He's speaking.
Can you hear me okay? Didn't say someone. You someone didn't say? Is you guys someone? Is that guy someone? Hi, someone. Boy, we're gonna change the mic apart. Okay. Yes, Elias is here. I hope you can hear me at the back. Very good. So, thank you very much for coming. መልካም 126ኛው የዓድዋ ቀን ለሁላችን ሆነ። ኦኬ ያሆነው ባለፈው ሮብ ነው፣ ግን ያው ሁላችሁ እንኳን በሰላም መጣችሁ። Again, thank you for coming. So ዛሬ so it's been going 4 weeks our marching race to ዓድዋ. So today is the closing day of that marching. So we've been collectively jogging, walking. Last time I checked, before I came here, it was 2,100 kilometers. So that's we should all be proud and happy. So all of us managed to travel all the way to ዓድዋ, climb up all the terrains, and return back to Addis. That's more than the 1,800 kilometers we targeted. So we all should be proud. Yeah, 1,800 kilometers ነበር ያቀድነው። አሁን ግን አቺቭ ያደረግነው 2,000 ኪሎ ሜትር በላይ። ሁላችንም ደስ ይለን ይገባል። So ሌላው ደግሞ ይሄ ቤት ታሪክ ሁላችሁ so please I'm mixing things, I'm sorry. So this house for all of us is a historical place. We all attached with this house emotionally. There's a lot of meaning in history in this house. So we should always remember the meaning of Fairfield House. Remember what happened in this house when our emperor was here and his ministers, advisors, and the priests. So he came here, not just the government, the Ethiopian church also were here from 1936 until 41. So don't forget our history. And don't forget, when they came here, they had 2 tabots. ስደተኛው መድኃኔዓለም ስደተኛው መድኃኔዓለም በግዕዝ ምን ነበር የሚባለው? ምስጋዬ ሕዙናን So ምስጋዬ ሕዙናን ነበር የተባለው። The tabot came from Israel in those days with his priests. Don't forget, that was the first ever church was built in the United Kingdom. We learned that yesterday. Today we have how many churches? 19 churches throughout UK. But don't forget, this was the first Ethiopian Orthodox Church was established first here in this house. So that's historical remark. So we should never forget that. Aisama? I don't think that makes a difference. Aisama? Aisama loud? Oh!
Piece of trick, keep trying.
That should be in the middle. So, Malat,
Try the microphone. Yeah, turn it up.
they're asking that should be in the middle. Apparently the mic is much better now.
Try it. Try it.
Hello. Huh? Okay. I'm gonna stand in the middle so you can all hear me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Finally we have another mic, much louder. Hello? Oh, that's a lot better. Okay. Should I say what I said again? Briefly, very quickly. All I want to say, this house has so much meaning for us, for all of us. I'm just reminding everyone, don't forget, this house has a lot of history. While they were here in those 5 years, they played big part, big history. Yes. So the first thing I was saying earlier, don't forget that in this house, the first Ethiopian church was established. Now we have 19 churches throughout UK. This is something I learned yesterday. But remember, this history. And the other thing I was going to add, the 2 tabots, the tabot which came here from Israel, after 5 years they were here. Of course, they took it, returned to Ethiopia in Addis Ababa. Now we have a church called ስደተኛው መድኃኔዓለም 6 ኪሎ. That's the tabot ከዚህ ሄዶ. This is the tabot which returned to Addis Ababa. So don't forget this history again. Another thing I want to add, while they were here in those times, they spent, as I said, church or the government was here in those exile time. And don't forget, in those times, they were tough and difficult times. They spent so much of their time lobbying, writing letters, approaching people, talking to people. People were coming here, people were going somewhere else. And those were very, very difficult and challenging times. Today maybe we may not remember, but please, don't remember those times, tough, difficult times. So today we're talking about lobbying. Those were proper difficult time lobbying. I think they even wrote a letter from here. I think there's a copy of a letter which they sent to Prime Minister Churchill. And so many things. It was not easy. Of course, the support went 4 years later.
In short, the government in exile was based here.
Yeah.
Most of the work was done by very few people.
Yes.
Arthur Blackton
Blackton Geta,
he died because of hard work.
Close to you.
Now we can hear you.
Okay, fine. I think Ashkifle was trying to remember, don't also forget the few who were supporting here, one of which was Blackton Huri. Don't forget that as well. Blackton Huri, while you were here, playing a major role in lobbying. Unfortunately, while they were here, he passed away. And he was buried here. But when they returned, they collected his bones, and they returned. They returned home. But the burial ground is still here, but they took the bones. So don't forget this. This is important history. So anyway, all I want to say is really don't forget this house. In this house, a lot of history was played in those times. So I'm so glad you all came. Race to ዓድዋ completed today. We achieved so great. We traveled, all of us walked over 2,000 kilometers in just 4 weeks. So that's a great achievement. And we raised quite a few money. I can't say it now, but I'm sure I'll send a message to the group. So thank you so much. Now I'm gonna, athlete Brahan, she did her part, of course, greatly, wherever she was. Now, do you want to say something, Brahan? And definitely.
በመጀመሪያ ለዚህ አበቃን እግዚአብሔር ይመስገን ሁላችንም በሰላም ሰብስበው እዚህ ስለበቃን በመቀጠልም ይሄን ሁላ ዝግጅት የተዘጋጀው ወንድሞቻችንን እናመሰግናለን ለሁላችሁም ምስጋና እኛን አምናችሁ ይሄን ፕሮግራም እንዲሳካ ያረጋችሁት ለሁላችሁ ምስጋና እንደገና ደግሞ በሩጫም ሆነ በወክ ለተባበራችሁን ሁላ እናመሰግናለን የዓድዋ ድል እኛ ነፃ ህዝቦች ነን ስንል በቀላል ያገኘነው አይደለም ቅድመ አያቶቻችን አጥንታቸውን ከስክሰው ደማቸውን አፍስሰው ነው ዛሬ እኔ ኢትዮጵያዊ ነኝ እኔ ነፃ ህዝብ ነኝ የምንለውና የዓድዋን ድል ለልጆቻችንም ለማውረስ ጠብቀን በየአመቱ ዛሬ ጀምረናል ዛሬ የተሳተፋችሁ ሁላ በወቁ የመጀመሪያ ጊዜ ነው ታሪክ ነው ለእናንተ ለሁላችንም ታሪክ ነው በየአመቱ እንዲቀጥል ደግሞ የእናንተ ትብብር ያስፈልጋል ሌላው ደግሞ ዛሬ ይሄ የቀዳማዊ ኃይለ ሥላሴ ቤት ፈንድሬዚንግ ነው እሳቸውም ታላቅ ውለታ ለኢትዮጵያ ለነጻነታችን ታላቅ ባለውለታ አባታችን ናቸው እሳቸው ቢሸነፉ ኑሮ እኛ ነጻነን ማለት አንችልም ዛሬ ስለዚህ እሳቸውንም ያያሰብን ይሄም ቆንጆ ህንጻ አለ ይሄን እንዲታደስ ፈንድሬዚንግ እየተደረገ ነው በታቻላችሁ መጠን ካሁን ወዲያም ጫረታም አለ በጫረታውም በቡናውም በሻዩም ተሳተፉ ለሁላችሁም ክብር ምስጋና አለኝ አመሰግናለሁ
Thank you very much. That's very good. So, now we're going to invite William so you can hear a bit about the house updates.
Oh. Yeah. Hello, very briefly, I'm William. I want to say welcome to everyone to Fairfield House, which was gifted by your Ethiopian Emperor, His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie, to our city of Bath because of the warm welcome that he received from our forebears 3 generations ago. It's a wonderful thing that the Ethiopian community comes to celebrate and secure this legacy. We understand how important it is for you in the Ethiopian community. We are always reminded how important it is for Rastafari, whose living God lived in this house. And it's also extremely important for our community of Bath. We're transformed by this gift into a much more interesting and different place. It's a different and better place when the Ethiopians come here in unity and in celebration. We're very, very grateful for your fundraising efforts in the race to ዓድዋ. Well done. I would say we value the cash very much, but even more than that, we value the participation, the energy, the inspiration that you bring when you do this. And long may it continue, the race to ዓድዋ. Now, I have a special promotion to make. Okay. There's an online cash company called Tap Send, which you can use to send money to Ethiopia. They have said, so Salam tells me, that if anyone downloads the app and sends £1 to Ethiopia today, they will donate £20 to the Race to ዓድዋ funds. You have to download an app. I honestly suggest find Salam. She will show you how to do it. No, she's at the table there. So, I would like to pay tribute to Fiseha for conceiving and organising the Race to ዓድዋ and executing such a wonderful event. Also, always, to Pauline Swaby for the warm heartbeat of Fairfield House who makes it so welcoming. Anyway, on behalf of the Fairfield House board, welcome. Thank you for including us in your celebrations. I believe Fiseha has arranged a message from our co-chair, Her Imperial Highness Princess Esther Selassie Antohin, which you'll hear in a bit.
Yes.
Back to you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, okay. Do you want to come and say a few words, please? Pauline.
Thank you all very much and welcome, family. That's what we are today, family. And it's a pleasure to be a part of this. For some of you who know me, I work here at Fairfield House and I've been running the daycare service for 27 years at Fairfield House. So you can imagine I came here as a child and here I am now. But no. We've heard about ዓድዋ, we've heard from the CIC, but from BEMSCA, which is Bath Ethnic Minority Senior Citizens Association, support the elders of Bath who wish to come to Fairfield House. We work mainly with people with language, so for Chinese, the Indian and the dialects of the Caribbean, so that their service and their voices can be heard. But the wish of His Majesty was about older people at Fairfield House. So it was a home at one point in the 60s to the 90s until it was deemed that it could no longer be that and they wanted to sell the house. So the house then reverted to daycare. So, we're blessed that for 28 years it has been daycare. And now we can see what we're doing now with us as all families meeting together. The Rastafari family, which was here yesterday for their Sabbath and today. But we all meet in one place and for one reason. And I'd like to thank Fisher. He called me last year and said about ዓድዋ. We talk about ዓድዋ all the time because we have the history upstairs. And it was in pandemic, so we know that Bahrain was not going to be able to run in the half marathon. So what would we do? So we went virtual, and it was supposed to be very small, but look how it's grown. And I was so proud and pleased to be part of last week, Wednesday, to see the online presence, to see the presentation, just to hear the history. And the history will continue because it's not for us now, it's for the young ones to learn that. And our role is to maintain Fairfield House and to sustain it so the history continue for our generation, and that is the legacy and the heritage that we wish to leave you.
Thank you so much, Pauline. Really, really kind of you. Thank you. So I had a message. I'll bring this for you, Kashmir. Don't worry. I'll bring this. Pauline, you still there? No.
Pauline, don't go away.
Pauline. She may have gone.
ክፍሌ ለልጅ እባላለሁ። እንግዲህ ከመኖር ከጀመርኩ ብዙ ጊዜ ሆኖኛል። መናገር የምፈልገው ስለ ፖሊን ነው።
እሷ ከመምጣቷ በፊት እዚህ ቤት መግባትም አይቻልም ነበር። ውጭ ግቢውን አጥሩን አይተን ነበር የምንመለሰው። ከለንደን፣ ከማንቸስተር፣ ከበርሚንግሃም የሚመጡ ኢትዮጵያኖች ሁሉ። እሷ ከመጣች በኋላ ነው እንደዚህ በጣም ሞቅ ያለ አቀራረብ እያደረገች ቤታችን ሆነ እና እሷን በጣም ማመስገን አለብን። ባለውለታችን ነች። ምን እናድርግላት ነው ጥያቄው። ወደ ኢትዮጵያ መሄድ ትፈልጋለች። እየተጣጣርን ነው። መርዳት የሚችል ሰው ሊረዳ ጥሩ ነው። በጣም ግሩም ሰው ነች። በጣም ጥሩ ሰው ነች። ጠባያችንን ችላ እያስተናገደችን ስለ ኢትዮጵያ፣ ስለ አፄ ኃይለ ሥላሴ ሞቅ ያለ ስሜት አላት። እኔ ደግሞ እሳቸውን ከመጠን በላይ ስለምወዳቸው እሳቸውን የሚወድ ሰው እኔም በጣም እወዳለሁ። ይኸው ነው የምናገረው። እያበለጠ ጨፍቅም ይችላል ግን
እሺ እንግዲህ እኔም ይህን ቤት ካየሁት ቆይቻለሁ። እንደሱ እንዳለው ከውጭ ነበር እያየን የምንሄደው። አሁን ትልቅ መገናኛችን ሆኗል። በአመት 3 ጊዜ በዓሎችን እናከብራለን። እዚህ የገናን በዓል፣ ፋሲካንና አዲስ ዓመት እዚህ ነው የምናከብረው። ከሁሉም ደስ የሚለው በዛ አከባበር ላይ የዚህ ሀገር ሰዎች የኢትዮጵያን ልጆች አዳፕት ያደርጓሉ። እነሱ ልጆች መጥተው እዚህ ሲጫወቱ ከሌላ ኢትዮጵያኖች ጋር አብረው ሲኖሩ ሲሯሯጡ ማየት በጣም አስደሳች ነው እና አሁን ባለፈው ዓመት እና ትንሽ ከፍ 2 ዓመት ገደማ በኮቪድ ምክንያት አልተሰባሰብንም። አሁን የምንጠብቀው እንደው እንግዲህ ፋሲካን ነው። አሁን በፋሲካ ሌላ በዓል እናከብራለን እና ቤቱ የእኛም ቤት ነው ለማለት ነው። ጋዲሴን አለኝ። ጋዲሴ በጣም ጥሩ እህታችን ነበረች። በተለይ የውጭ ልጆች እዚህ አዳፕት የተደረጉችን ልጆች በጣም ትወድና በጣም ትሰራ ነበረ። ምግቡን በሙሉ የምትሰራው እሷ ነበረች። በአጋጣሚ አሁን አብራችን የለችም። በዛ በጣም እናዝናለን። አሁን በምትኩ ደግሞ ሌላ እህቶቻችን እናንተ ብቻ ምን ነው እኛም ምግብ እናቀርባለን አሉ። ምክንያቱም ማህበሩ ሲጀመር የወንዶች ማህበር ብቻ ነበር። 10 እንሆናለን እየተሰባሰብን ምግብ እየበላን እንትን ስንል ለምን እንደው አንዳንድ ሰዎች አንጨምርም ምናምን ብለን እንደው እንግዲህ ይሄ ከሆነ አመት ባለን አንተርሶ ሌሎች ኢትዮጵያኖችን እንጥራ በሚል ነገር የዛሬ 10-12 ዓመት ገደማ የሆነው ከተጀመረ እና አሁን ዌስት ኦፍ ኢንግላንድ የምንለው የብሪስተልና አካባቢው
Just to show, would you like a few words about the plane?
ዓድዋ አተራዝግን እንነካለን። እኚህ አፄ ምኒልክ ናቸው። እኚህ እቴጌ ጣይቱ ናቸው። የካቲት 23 1888 ዓመተ ምህረት በኢትዮጵያ ደጋማ አካባቢ ላይ በኢትዮጵያ እና በጣሊያን መካከል ጦርነት ተጀመረ። ነገሩ የተጀመረው እንዲህ ነው። ጣሊያን እንዲህ ብላ ሳለች፣ ኢትዮጵያ ከሌሎች ውጭ ሀገሮች ጋር ግንኙነት ወይ መነጋገር ከፈልጉ በጣሊያን በኩል መሆን አለበት በማለት አሳሳቱ። እቴጌ አድርገው ለማስፈረማቸው ስትሞክር እቴጌ ጣይቱ አወገችባቸው። ከዛ ከአፄ ምኒልክ ጋር ተነጋግረው አንቀበለውም አሉ። ጣሊያን ጦርነት አስነሳለሁ አለች። ኢትዮጵያ የጦርነቱ መዘጋጀት ጀመረች። አፄ ምኒልክ ህዝቦቻቸው አብራቸው እንዲዘምቱ አሉ። ብዙዎች ኢትዮጵያኖች ከነሚስታቸው ጋር
Just unplug it.
ብዙዎች ኢትዮጵያኖች ከነሚስታቸው ጋር ዘመቱ። ግማሾቹ ምግብ ያዘጋጁ፣ ተከሚና የሚሰጡ፣ የሚፎክሩም የሚሸልሉም ነበሩ። እንዲሁም ኬትና ታቦትን አብራቸው ነበሩ። እነዚህ መትረየስ ተኳሽ ናቸው። እነዚህ መድፍ ተኳሽ ናቸው። እቺ የፎከረች የተዋጋናት። ከብዙ ውጊያ በኋላ ሁለቶቹን ሀገሮችን ብዙዎች ወታደሮች አጡ። በመጨረሻ በእቴጌ ጣይቱ ብልሃት የጣሊያኖቹ ወታደሮች ውሃ ተቋረጠባቸው። በጣም ስለተዳከሙ ብዙዎቹ ተማረኩ፣ ብዙዎቹ ሕይወታቸው አጡ። ኢትዮጵያ አሸናፊ ሆነች። አመሰግናለሁ። በኢትዮጵያዊነታችን እንኳን አለ
በጣም ቆንጆ እናመሰግናለን።
ንገሩት መልእክት ነው። ንገሩት መልእክቴን ለዛም ለአገር ጀግና ሁሌ ለሚያኮራኝ ቆራጡ ሳተና ብቻውን እንዳልሆነ እኛም ከስር ከስር ከዛች ቅድስት ሀገር ተፈጥናልና ተነሳ ወገኔ አሁን እጅ ለእጅ እንያያዝና የአባትን ገድል በሚችለው ሁሉ ዛሬም ድገምና ኢትዮጵያ ሀገሬን በአስቸኳይ እናውጣት ካለባት ፈተና። ለምን ይመስልሃል በኩራት ማክበር ታላቁን አድዋ ማሳያም ጭምር ነው እናይደፍሮች አሁንም እንዳለ እህትና ወንድሜ ለሀገር የቆማችሁ ለወገን ለመድረስ ቤተሰብ ጥላችሁ በእጃችሁ ያለውን እርግፍ አድርጋችሁ ታሪክ ለማስቀጠል ቆርጣችሁ የወጣችሁ የኢትዮጵያ አምላክ በድል ያስገባችሁ። እንደዚህ ነው አባት፣ እንዲህ ነው እህት፣ እንደዚህ ነው ወንድም፣ እንዲህ ነው እናት ነፍሱን ተገዳድሮ ሀገር ይመልከት። ከእንግዲህ ቆርጠናል ሁሉም መስመር ሳይዝ ወደ ኋላ አንልም። በዘመናዊ ስልት የውጭን ወራሪ አናስተናግድም። በአያቶቻችን ደም ያገኘነውን ክብር ከቶ አናስነጥቀም። ታጋዩ አርበኛ ጥርስህን ነክሰሃል። ፀሐይ በራውን ራብና ጥሩን ተቋቁመሃል። አንተ ሲነሳብን ማን ይመልሰሃል? ደግሞ ለጀግንነት አንተ አዲስ አይደለም። ያ የአባቶችህን እሳቱን ክንድህን ዛሬም ታሳያለህ። ሳትነካቸው መጥተው አሻፈረኝ ያሉ ልክ ታስገባለህ። እኛም በአቅማችን ቆመናል ከጎን ከሁሉም ፈጣሪ ይግደል።
በጣም ደስ ይላል። እናመሰግናለን። ያው
እሺ እኔ ደግሞ እንዴት ነው የሚያስችልሽ እላታለሁ። እናት ሀገሬ እጅግ የረቀቀ ሊያውቁት የሚያዳግት ምን ቢመራመሩ ቢወጡ ቢወርዱ ከቶ ያልደረሱበት እንደምን አድርጎ እንዴት ነው የሰራሽ? እንዴት ነው የሚሆንልሽ? እንዴት ነው የሚያስችልሽ? ያለ ሌለ ትዕግስት ጠፍ አድርገሽ አሟጠሽ እንዲህ ያለ ብርታት ጸጋውን ያደለሽ ስንቱን አሳለፍሽው ሁሉን ዋጥ አድርገሽ ጎበዙን ያፈራሽ ጀግንነቱ ያንቺ ኃያላንን ሲሉ በብልሃት ምትረቺ ለአፍሪካን በሙሉ በአድዋው ድልሽ ብርታት ይሆንሻቸው ቀዳሚዋ አንቺ ለነጻነት ትግል ያነሳሳሻቸው። ያንን ሁሉ አልፋ ፈተና መጣባት በዘዴ ገባና ልጆቿ መሃል ያ የውጭ ጠላት እጅግ ውስብስቡን የቤት ስራ ሰጣት። ቢገለባበጥም እንስብስብ አንጀቷ ፊቷን አበሳበስ እንበዋል ልትገታ ቆራጥ ትሆናለች ጠንክራ ተጽናንታ። ውስጧ ግን ቢገለጥ ይሆን እውነታ ጊዜ ሲከፋባት እስቲ ይሁን ብላ ቻል ታደርገዋለች። መቼ ያሁኑ ጨንቋት የባስ እንዳይመጣ አሻግራ ታያለች። ምንም እንደማታክ ጎንበስ ዝቅ ብላ ታሳልፈዋለች። አምጠሽ እንዳልወለሽ ደግሞም እንዳላዘሽ ያለው እንዳልነበር ተመሰቃቅሎብሽ የጠፋውን ለማቅናት ደፋ ቀና እያልሽ ምንም እንዳልሆነ ክፉ እንዳላገኘሽ ከውጭ ለሚያውሽ ወርቅ አበባ መስለሽ እንደ ጆፍራ ሞራ አሰብስፈውብሽ ሊቆረማመቱሽ ይሁሉ ደርሶብሽ ሳታጉረመርሚ ተመስገን ትያለሽ። ይሄ ጥበብሽ ነው ልዩ የሚያደርግሽ በሰዓት የተፈተንሽ ከወርቅም አልማዝ ነሽ። አንቺ ወደ ሰፊ አንቺ አንገት ደፊ ከዚህ ሁሉ ስቃይ መቼውን የምታርፊ እኛንም ያመናል አንቺ ስትከፊ ቀኝሽን የያዘው የመከራሽን ወቅት ያሻግርሽ ለፊ። አመሰግናለሁ።
በጣም ደስ ይላል። አለ ኦኬ የሚዘመር መዝሙር አለን። ልጆች ባንድ ላይ ሆነው መዝሙር አለን ብለዋል። ያው
ሰውደኑና አራዳማን ማነው አራዳኛው አገሬ ኢትዮጵያ ኩሪ ይገባሻል ሰውደኑና አራዳማን ማነው አራዳኛው ሀገሬ ኢትዮጵያ ኩሪ ይገባሻል የማያስደፍሩ ጀግና ልጅ ወልደሻል ደመን ማነው ወረደኔው ሰውደኑና ኧረ ደመን ማነው አንተ መንገደኛ ልጠይቅህ ወሬ ከአባቴ ባድማ ተጠምዷል ወይ በሬ መጠመዱንማ ተጠምዶ ነበረ ደመነኛው ወይፈን ማነቂያ ሰበረ ደመን ማነው ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ አገሬ ኢትዮጵያ ጥቁርም አይደለሽ ጥቁር ነሽ አሉ ነጭም አይደለሽ ነጭ ነሽ አሉ ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ ዱብ ያለው እንደ በረዶ በልጅነቱ በረሃ ወርዶ በረሃ ዳሪ በሰው ጠመንጃ ወንዝ አሻጋሪ ሱሪ ዝቅ ፀጉር ፈተላ አሬት መጣብኝ ይወሮ በላ እዚህ ቁጭ ብሎ ደም ከሚያፈላ ስደደው አባይ ገድቦ ይብላ በላት ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ እያት ሽመሌ ባለች ቀጭነች ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ አረጃሎ ባላ አረዳማን ማነው አረዳኔው ሰውደኑና አረዳማን ማነው አረዳኔው ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ አሁንም ዘራፍ ቅድምም ዘራፍ ማን ይነካታል የጀግናን በራፍ ዘራፍ ተወዶ ዘራፍ ሲታጠቅ ልቡ አይሸበር ሆዱ አይጨነቅ ከጠላት ጋራ የሚደባለቅ ጠላት ሲመጣ እንደንፈርሶ ቁጭ ብሎ ቆየው 30 ጉርሶ በ30ም 30 ገሎ ገባበት ውጅም ጓንጫ ወድሮ ኧረ ካጅሬ የጠባው ጥጃ አንዱን በጥፊ አንዱን በርግጫ ሩበላተ ራበላተ እኛ እንግሊዞች እኛ ጣሊያኖች የቸገራቸው በጎንደር ቢሉ ማን ሊፈራቸው መይሳው አስሮ መድፍ አሰራቸው መድፉም ይገኛል ዳፋት ያለው ደብረ ታቦር ላይ ዳፋት ያለው ያነ መድፋቸው ለውርደታቸው ምስክር ነው ሮበልዬ የዛ ጀግና አገር የዛ ሰውዬ በረጅን አልቢን ያሰኛል ወየ ሮበላት መላው ጠፍታቸው ሲደናገሩ ለተንኮላቸው ጎጀን ይዳሉ ጎጃም ሽፈራው በላይ ሽፈራው ተቀበላቸው እያቆረጡ አባይ ጣላቸው ኧረ አይሰማ ሮበላት ያውግታቸው ሲደናገሩ ለተንኮላቸው ሲደናገሩ ለውጠታቸው ወሎ እንዲዳሉ ወሎስ ቢሄዱ ንጉሥ ሚካኤል ተቀበላቸው አጼ ምኒልክ የዓድዋው ጀግና ከጣይቱ ጋር ጠላት የመታ ስሙ ይነሳል በሁሉም ቦታ ብላት ሴራው ይክሸፍበት ማማ የመጣብሽ አድማ እግሩ ሳር ያድርገው ጉልበቱን ቀጤማ አይሰማም ካቀባበለብሽ ብረት ከደገነ አምላክ ያግዝልሽ ላንቺ የወገነ ሴራው ይክሸፍበት የመጣብሽ አድማ እግሮ ሳር ያድርገው ጉልበቱን ቀጤማ ጸሎትሽ ይሰማ አምላክ ይለመንሽ ፈተና ዋይለቅ የሚፈታተንሽ አንገትሽ ራስሽን ችሎ ለየውና ማግስቱን ይውሰደኝ 10 ሞት ይምጣና እስካለኝ እማማ
አንድ የዓድዋ ሙዚቃና አንድ ተጨማሪ ሌላ አቀርብላችሁ
የብዙሃን እናት መጠጊያ የምንላት እማማ ናትና ሀገሬ ናት እንኳን የብዙሃን እናት መጠጊያ የምንላት እማማ ናትና ኢትዮጵያ ናት እንኳን በዓድዋ በማይጨው ጀግኖች የሞቱላት ሕፃን ሽማግሌ የተሰየፈላት እኔም በተጠንቀቅ አለሁሽ የምላት ጎጆዬ ናትና ኢትዮጵያ ናት እንኳን።
አመሰግናለሁ። ሁላችንም እንላለን ደግሞ አንድ ላይ
ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ ሆብዬ በድል ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ ሆብዬ በድል ጥንትም ያባቴ ነው ጠላትን መግደል። እስኪ አንድ ላይ ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ ሆብዬ በድል ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ ሆብዬ በድል ጥንትም ያባቴ ነው ጠላትን መግደል። ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ በዓድዋ በማይጨው ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ ያቆየኋትን ሀገር ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ ዛሬም ለኢትዮጵያ ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ ለዘላለም ትኑር ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ ከአያት በቅድመ አያት ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ የኖረች ተከብራ ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ ዋልያት ጨርሶ ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ ኢትዮጵያ ተደፍራ ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ ሆብዬ በድል ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ ሆብዬ በድል ጥንትም ያባቴ ነው ጠላትን መግደል። ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ ጥንት አባቶቻችን ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ ያቆየኋትን ሀገር ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ ዛሬም በልጆቿ ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ ለዘላለም ትኑር ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ በአያት በቅድመ አያት ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ የኖረች ተከብራ ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ ዋልያት በቁሜ ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ ኢትዮጵያ ተደፍራ ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ ሆብዬ በድል ሆብዬ እመጣለሁ ሆብዬ በድል ጥንትም ያባቴ ነው ጠላትን መግደል። ኢትዮጵያ ለዘላለም ትኑር።
በጣም እናመሰግናለን። አጨብጭቡለት በእናታችሁ በጣም ነው ትልቅ ምስጋና። አሁን የዝና ጨዋታ ነገር አለ። አሁን ለኛ አለ ችግር የለም። ዴቭ ዳዊት ብሉቱዝን ማግኘት ይችላል።
እናመሰግናለን። እንግዲህ ሲያሳጣኝ በዚህ ምድር ተኩላ የሄደ ሲያሳጣኝ በዚህ ምድር ተኩላ ታሪክህን ድገም ዛሬም እንደገና ታሪክህን ድገም ዛሬም እንደገና
በነበረው የዘረኛ ፍልስፍና ጋዜጣ ያወጣው ነው እዚህ ጋር። ይሄኛው ግን ሶርት ኦፍ እንዴት ነው ሳታየር መሆኑ ነው። ሉክ አጼ ምኒልክን ያው ያኔ ጥቁሮች ይታዩ በነበረበት አስተያየት ነው። ማለትም እንደ ዝንጀሮ ወይም ሳብ ሂውመን ነው የሚታዩትና ያኔ ይሄን ፎቶግራፍ ስትመለከቱ አጼ ምኒልክ ይቺ ጣሊያን መሆኗ ነው እና exactly what it reflects is Tarzan ወይም ደግሞ ታርዛን ሳይሆን ያኛው ዝንጀሮ ጎሪላው ይዘውት መጥቶ ኪንግ ኮንግ መሆኑ ነው። ያ ታንክ ዩ እሱን ያስታውሳል። እዚህ ላይም ያው እንደምታዩት በሙስሊም እንትን ይላል። ይሄኛው እንግዲህ ያው there is a mythology about blacks and sexuality እንደዛ አሉድ ያደርጋል። እዚህ ጋር የምታዩት ያው I hope እዚህ ጋር የምታዩት ደግሞ አጼ ምኒልክ ያው ቪክቶር ኢማኑኤልን ሲወቁት ነው ማለት ነው። እንግዲህ በኢትዮጵያ እና በትልቁ ተጽዕኖ ግን በአፍሪካውያን ላይ ያለው ነው። ቀደም ሲል ጥቁሮች የራሳቸውን ቤተክርስቲያን በአሜሪካ ውስጥ አቋቁመዋል እና ስሙንም አቢሲኒያን ባፕቲስት ቸርች ነው ያሉት። አቢሲኒያ ያም የኢትዮጵያ የምትጠራበት ነው። እዛ የራሳቸውን ሃይማኖት መካፈል ስለማይችሉ ነው ምንም እንኳ እምነቱ ተከታዮች የአንድ ዲኖሚኔሽን ተከታዮች ቢሆንም አይፈቀድላቸውም ነበርና የራሳቸውን ቸርች አቋቁመዋል። ከዛ በላይ ግን ሮበርት ኤ ያንግ፣ ዴቪድ ዎከር ያኔ they published a pamphlet Ethiopian manifesto in በ1829 ነው ይሄ long before ከዛ I think in 2007 እነኚህ ሰዎች ከአሜሪካ መጥተው የ150ኛውን የአፍሪካን አሜሪካን እንትን ሴሌብሬት አድርገዋል ወደ ኢትዮጵያ መጥተው። አጼ ኃይለ ሥላሴም ለዛ ቤተክርስቲያን አንድ ትልቅ መስቀል ሰጥተዋል። ብራዚሊያን አፍሮ ብራዚሊያን ኦም ኔሊክ የሚል ኒውስ ጋዜጣ በ1904 አቋቁሟል። ቪቫ ሚኒሊክ የሚለው አባባል ለብዙ አፍሪካን አሜሪካንስ has become a battle cry እና ጸረ ቅኝ ግዛት እንትን እና ማጠንጠኛ ሆኗል። ሄሽን ቤኔቶ ሲልቪያን ጸሐፊና ገጣሚ was one of the co-founders of the Pan-African Congress with W.E. Du Bois, George Padmore and others. The timing rasu is telling 1896 ጣሊያን ተሸንፎ in less than 4 years Pan-African እንትን ተቋቁሟል ማለት ነው። many ብዙ አፍሪካን አሜሪካንስ ወደ ኢትዮጵያ መጥተዋል። ፕሮባብሊ ከኢትዮጵያና አሜሪካ ግንኙነት በ1903 ነው የተጀመረው። አጅቦ ወይም ደግሞ ያ ግንኙነት ከተመሰረተ በኋላ ወደ ኢትዮጵያ መጥተዋል። ብዙዎቹ ከካሪቢያን ናቸው። ማርከስ ጋርቬ አንደኛው መዝሙራቸው የዩኤንአይኤ ዩናይትድ ኒግሮ ኢምፕሩቭመንት አሶሲዬሽን ኢትዮጵያንስ አዌክ የሚል ነበረ። ማርከስ ጋርቬ በጣም ለኢትዮጵያ ትልቅ ፍቅር ያለው አጼ ኃይለ ሥላሴ ለንደን በነበሩበት ጊዜ በጣም ሊያነጋግራቸው ይፈልግ ነበር። እሱም ባይዘን ኤግዛይል ሆኖ እዛ ይኖር ነበረ። የጣሊያን እና የኢትዮጵያ ጦርነት በ1927 ከዛ በፊት አጼ ዴሊጌት ሲላኩ ብዙ ኢትዮጵያውያን ዴሊጌት አሜሪካን ሀገር ሲሄዱ they really seek out African Americans በግላቸው የሚሆን መንግስትን እንትን በማለት የመጀመሪያው ዴሊጌሽን ሄደው የአንደኛ ዓለም ጦርነት እንዳበቃ አሜሪካኖቹን እንኳን ደስ አላችሁ ለማለት ነው። ከዛ በኋላ ሌላም ዴሊጌሽን ሄዷል እና በግል ብዙዎቹን አነጋግረዋል። በነገራችን ላይ እነኚህ የሄዱት ዴሊጌትስ ማደሪያ ስላልነበራቸው they have to stay in churches, and I think Howard University later on used to be a residence for some of the Ethiopian delegates. Louis Farrakhan, I think Professor Gates ባዘጋጀው አፍሪካስ ሆሊ ላንድ በሚለው ቪዲዮ ላይ ጠይቆት በሚናገርበት ጊዜ the nation of Islam መሪ እኛ ኃይለ ሥላሴን ስለ ኃይለ ሥላሴ ንግስ ነበር የጠየቀው። እኛ ኃይለ ሥላሴን ስናይ we have been hearing about King George, King this, King that. Now we know that we have our own king. እና ኢትዮጵያ ለኛ ከፍተኛ ቦታ ያላት ለኛ የኩራት ምንጭ ነች ወዘተ ብለው ተናግረዋል።
Professor Solomon, please try to wrap up in the next few minutes, 5 minutes maximum, please. Thank you so much. Okay.
እሺ እንግዲህ ይችን ነገር I wish I could አነብላችኋለሁ። ይህ ከጦርነቱ በኋላ ከተጻፈው ከኒውዮርክ Pearl of Ethiopian sign of unrest among natives in British South Africa. This is London Times reporting, aka New York Times, a special cablegram ይላል እና ይሄ ምንድነው በኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ ኢትዮጵያ ያደረገችው ነገር ጥቁሮችን ያነሳሳል እና we have to be careful የሚል ነው። እንግዲህ ያው ስክሪኑ ላይ ያያችሁት ነው። ጣሊያን በ1927 ወሮን ባሸነፈን ጊዜ ብድሩን የራሱን ከርክቸር አውጥቷልና እዚህ ጋር የምታዩት የጣሊያኑ ልጅ ጣሊያኖቹ ባንዲራውን ይዘው የኢትዮጵያን እጅ ሲነሱ ነው እዚህ ጋር የምታዩቸው፣ ወይም የጣሊያን የፋሺስት ሰላምታ ሲያቀርቡ ነው። ለዚህ ነው እንግዲህ ምኒልክ ተወልዶ በአነሳ ጋሻ ግብሩ እንቁላል ነበር ይህን ጊዜ አበሻ ተብሎ የሚነገረው እና ንግግሬን በዚህ ያበቃለሁ። የኢትዮጵያ የዓድዋ ድል የኢትዮጵያ ድል ብቻ ሳይሆን የመላው ጥቁር ሕዝብ ድል ነው። ዛሬ በኢትዮጵያ ላይ በተለያዩ አጋጣሚዎች ሕዝቧን ለመከፋፈል ለእድገት የምታደርገውን ጉዞ ለመግታት የሚደረገው ጥረት ሁሉ ይህች ሀገር ድሃ ሆና ያን ያህል ነገር ማድረግ ከቻለች ሀብታም ከሆነች አይቻልም በሚል ነው እና ታሪኩ የኛ የጋራ ታሪክ እንዳይሆንም ብዙ ነገር ይሰራል። ነገር ግን እስካሁን ድረስ ኢትዮጵያውያን እዚህ ደረጃ ደርሰዋል። ወደፊቱን ደግሞ እግዚአብሔር ያውቃል። አመሰግናለሁ ለሰጣችሁኝ እድል። መልካም የዓድዋ በዓል።
Professor Solomon, we very thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. That was so really great. We learned a lot from you. That was great slides as well. Some of the pictures I've never seen at all before. We're very honored to have you. Thank you so much. If you don't mind, stay around. Some people might have a question for you. Please stay around. We're very kind. We're very honored for that. But now we know Engineer Scale is now here. I think he was busy with other things, but finally he's with us. He apologized. Apologies accepted. Engineer Scale, without further ado, please say a few words about all these great, scholars and Lijnabiat and etc. Please say a few things. Engineer Scale, you're there now. I know.
Yeah, sorry for being late. I'm working in a plant in Iowa, and our company computer system was giving me a difficult time to get on Zoom, so I'm using my phone. And I'm still wearing my high-vis clothes I need to wear in a paper mill. In any event, I appreciate for the opportunity. We've done this last year. This year, I think it's getting a little bit bigger, and we need to continue to build on this. We have guests, some of them have already been here. I want to say a few words about Lijnabiat. Lijnabiat, as you have heard him, he was born and raised in the Cleveland area in Ohio. And but he has been to Ethiopia a number of times, spent time with his grandfather, his late grandfather, and his parents did a wonderful job. And he has a dear sister also, Dr. Manna. They are very in tune with what's going on in Ethiopia. One thing, what Nabiat does and excels is he speaks Amharic more than any one of us. In fact, when we write things, he's the one who proofreads it. Not only speaks it, he writes it. He's an excellent person to have a chat in Amharic or in English, in any language. So, in fact, if Nabiat is still here, I want you to address this August group in Amharic for a few minutes if you haven't said a few words in Amharic. Nabiat, are you there? Please unmute and greet this our guests in Amharic. Okay, I guess he's not here. So I'm gonna, and he is instrumental in getting the message from the Prince, and he's also very close to the Crown Council. Our next guest is Professor Tilahun Yilma. Professor Tilahun, it's going to be your turn after this. Could you unmute Nabiat, please? He's saying that he couldn't unmute Engineer Fasa. Unmute Nabiat.
Oh, okay. Biniam, can you unmute Nabiat or Eleanor,
yes.
Whoever? Okay.
Biniam,
yeah, we try.
Everyone. Okay.
Yes, we try.
Okay. Okay, Nabiat, can you?
Okay, thank you. አመሰግናለሁ።
Okay. Did you speak in English earlier? Now I want you to address this group in Amharic, please, for a couple of minutes.
በደስታ ስለጋበዛችሁኝ አመሰግናለሁ። ቅድም ወጥተ ነበር መሰለኝ አጥር ያለ ገለጻ አድርጌ ነበረ የዓድዋን ድል በተመለከተ እንዲሁም ፌርፊልድ ሃውስን በሚመለከት አጥር ያለ ንግግር አድርጌ ነበር። ስለጋበዛችሁኝ አመሰግናለሁ። ሁላችንም እንኳን ለ126ኛው የዓድዋ ድል በዓል አደረሰን እላለሁ። እንግዲህ ከዚህ በላይ መናገር
በጣም እናመሰግናለን። አማርኛ መናገር ብቻ ሳይሆን ቀኔ ሁሉ ይቀኛል እና በጣም ጎዘን እናመሰግናለን። እዚህ ስለመጣ ከፕሪንሱም መቼ ስለመጣልን በጣም እናመሰግናለን። Thank you, Nabia. And plus, I hope your father, Engineer Aklilu, and Wazir Zufan are also here. I have invited them, and they did a wonderful job with you too. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next, Professor Tilahun, please unmute Professor Tilahun Yilma. Professor Tilahun is an emeritus professor at UC Davis. He's a world-renowned virologist, and he has contributed in his field immensely. He's a National Academy of Science inductee, and he's also have written about Ethiopia for the last 20-some years, over 30 years. And I will give him a few minutes to finish the introduction and continue with the presentation. For our English-speaking guests, Professor Tilahun will be presenting in English. Professor Tilahun, take it, please. Unmute Professor Tilahun for me.
First, I'd like to thank the organizing committee, especially Engineer Scale, for this opportunity to speak. Before I share my slides, I want to show you a few things. I have the privilege of having two swords issued by Emperor Menelik. Can you see this?
Yes,
it says Menelik, Menelik, and then Moan Basaz Emna, it's a stamp. And then on the sword itself, it says Ethiopia Tabatse Dawa Habagzavir. So I have that, and then I have the second one. Again, that's a Menelik sword that was used actually in the Battle of ዓድዋ. So I feel very privileged. It doesn't belong to me. This belongs to the Ethiopian people. And my wish is to finance the building of a museum for the Ethiopian Academy of Science and place these collections there. That's my hope. And when peace comes to Ethiopia, that's what I like to do. In addition to that, I was contacted by the first USAID Point for Director's daughter that something that he had gotten from the emperor on his 75th birthday, they were gold coins that were issued and I have a whole set of them that were issued for the emperor's 76th birthday. I would also donate these to the Ethiopian Academy of Science. And then I have a few other collections. With that, now I'd like to go to my presentation, and I want to share my screen.
Yeah, you can share your screen. You are.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Great. The next 15 minutes, I would like to share with you. This is such a great honor, and I want to discuss a few points. The first is, it is important that we continue to do this, because a nation that forgets its past has no future. Let me see if I can. How did it all start? How did we get into this situation? Just one of the things that happened, I need to move this picture over here. Lord Macaulay in 1835, after he visited Africa, I don't have the time to read the whole thing, but his presentation on the 2nd February 1835 to the British Parliament was, he was really impressed by Africans, their pride. He didn't see a single beggar, their dignity. And basically he came to the conclusion, unless we break the very backbone of this nation, which is her spiritual and cultural heritage, and therefore I propose that we replace her old and ancient education system, her culture, for if the Africans think that all that is foreign and English is good and greater than their own, they will lose their self-esteem, their native culture, and they will become what we want them, and truly a dominated nation. This has been the agenda of the West since his proposal, and this continues. And here is Henry Kissinger, supposedly as a teenager, escaped the Holocaust as a German Jew. But what was his, when he became head of National Security Council for the United States, his suggestion was depopulation should be the highest priority of a foreign policy towards the third world. And he had especially a specific recommendation, in that in the epilogue of Theodore Vestal, which is a great historian and a great friend of Ethiopia, he recommended in 1972, National Security, known under his direction as the committee in charge of running the world, wrote a confidential report on the future of Ethiopia. He purportedly recommended that US policy should be to keep that nation in perennial internal conflict, using such vulnerabilities as ethnic, religious, and other divisions to destabilize the country. This was proposed in 1972. And then I was a guest of University of Milan in 1997, traveled around Italy and gave lectures. And then I asked what the official, the dean, if he could make arrangement for me to meet with the foreign minister of Italy, because I asked him, why is the West waging ethnic politics on Ethiopia? And he said to me, I have a very good friend. His name is Mr. Largo. He is in charge of East Africa. He would be more helpful to you than the foreign minister. So I'll take an appointment for you. And he did, and I traveled. I flew down to Rome, met with Mr. Largo. He said he could not give me a copy of the document, but he could let me read it. And I just have a little, when I was a guest of University of Milan in Italy in 1997, I learned from the foreign ministry in charge of East Africa, the British provided a master plan to the State Department how to destroy Ethiopia by waging ethnic politics. USAID funded the program named Basic Education System Overhaul, or BESO. The aim of this program was to destroy our national language, Amharic, and teach Ethiopians in their ethnic languages, which there are more than 80. In addition, our Sabian, or Giz, Ethiopian alphabet that is more than 2,000 years old, much superior than the Latin, was to be replaced with Latin alphabet destroying our literature and heritage. That's exactly what Mallas was assigned by USAID to do, and that's what the TPLF did, and I will continue with that. Now, we should be very grateful. We are in debt to the family of Pankhurst. And I used to visit him on a regular basis in the summer when I come to London, and he said to me, I should never trust the English. And both his mothers, Sylvia Pankhurst, Richard Pankhurst, I can't go to it because of the time shortage, but he wrote 2 volumes in the Journal of History of Medicine. In addition, before ADWA, that has never really been very well documented and told, he documented that extremely well. The British provided the Italians a virus, 2 cows they brought from India infected with rinderpest, the most devastating cattle disease, Desta Bashita, and they introduced that through the port of Massawa. Greater than 90% of all ruminants, cattle, sheep, goats, buffalo, wildebeest, antelope just perished. When I was developing a recombinant vaccine for rinderpest at the Plum Island Animal Disease Center, I took 19 animals, injected them with a single dose of the virus in the prescapular lymph node. All of them died in 6 days. This is not slaughter. This is bloody diarrhea. This is what the British gave the Italians to weaken. Under these circumstances, that was introduced around 1892. 96, then Emperor Menelik and Empress Taitu have to gather the weakened population, Ethiopian population. 30 to 60% of the population has already starved from because of rinderpest, and he came to ADWA, and of course, the rest of it is history. I would like to mention purposely one, Fitarari Gabayo Gora, the other one, the Jazmach Balcha, the previous speaker, talk about the poem Gabayo Bimotataka Balfa Medfa Galaba Bicha Labicha. It gives me great honor to tell you, I am so privileged that Fitarari Gabayo Gora happens to be the uncle of my mother. The Battle of ADWA took place on Sunday, 1 March 1896. In the annals of the colonization of the continent of Africa, there is only one great nation, Ethiopia, that defeated a European power, Italy, at the Battle of ADWA by the army of Emperor Menelik and Empress Taitu. She played a very, very significant role, a great hero of Ethiopia. And in recognition of this event, on 2nd of August 2020, Sunday, the African Union had a big celebration for her in Addis. Taitu Butul, a legendary Ethiopian woman who had been a military strategist and army top brass in the fight against the Italian aggression at the Battle of ADWA, was celebrated by the African Union. As a member of the advisory council to Ambassador Fitsum, the Ethiopian ambassador to the United States, I volunteered. I said I would be more than happy to finance the construction of a statue, Taitu Butul on a horse next to her husband Menelik near St. George Church. And I would still love to do it if I am permitted, and I will pay for the entire thing. Let's just talk about just 1 second about Mandela. As you know, Mandela is when he got significant support from Ethiopia. Mengistu actually supported and to defeat the apartheid regime in South Africa. This is what Mandela said about Ethiopia. Ethiopia always has a special place in my imagination, and the prospect of visiting Ethiopia attracted me more strongly than a trip to France, England, and America combined. I felt it would be visiting my own genesis, unearthing the roots of what made me an African. When Meles invited Mandela, he just told him in no terms, he said, "You are a disgrace. How could you introduce to a beautiful country, Ethiopia, an apartheid system of Kulin?" And he refused to visit it. And here we have another one who said, why do we, this is Trump, why do we want all these people from shithole countries here? We should bring more people from places like Norway, the blondes and the blue-eyed. So the West had never had any good desire. What is the agenda of the West for Africa? The West foreign policy for Africa is just as racist as their domestic politics to their own citizens of color. It has three major goals: sucking our resources, promoting white supremacy, waging war. So we could use all our resources buying their war weapons and instead of using it for development. That's their agenda for us. Here is Benito Mussolini again. Look at this Ethiopian here. One of us. Look at his feet. And he fought for the independence of Ethiopia barefoot. We should never forget that. With regard to the West's investment in waging war, here is a five-star general who defeated Nazi in the Second World War, President Eisenhower. He said, when he retired, he addressed the joint session of Congress, gave the nation a dire warning about what he described as a threat to democratic government. He called it the military-industrial complex, a formidable union of defense contractors in the armed forces. Not only is the democracies, even the West itself is a victim of its military-industrial complex because they're always looking for, as soon as the United States was done with Afghanistan, they were ready to start a war in Ethiopia. Here is President Jimmy Carter. He said the US has only enjoyed 16 years of peace in its 204-year history, making this country the most warlike nation in the history of the world. We're seeing it now. And here is the outcome of colonialism. They created colonial boundaries, which are a source of conflict. Who are our fake leaders and Askaris Banda who execute their master's agenda? For example, there was this Millennium Village, Jeffrey Sachs from Columbia University. He said he invented 50,000. I was at the National Academy of Science when this presentation was made. I said, what is your 50,000? Mullah spent $2 billion defending Badme, Iraq, and all the Italian boundary, defaming our great history and our defeat of Italians at Àdwa. He spent $2 billion, and here's Jeffrey Sachs about 50,000. These are the Askaris that they like to make in charge of us. Now, what is the difference between these two characters? They both are Tigrinya speaking. Askaris to the war, Banda, they spend billions of dollars defending Badme, Iraq. In fact, one African paper said it's like two bold men fighting over a comb. How could you spend billions of dollars defending a colonial boundary when we have children with no shoes? They can't even have clean water to drink. And then here is this Tigrayan Askari, the TPLF carrying, transporting their British master, Martin Platt, who writes all these tweets to the side of the crime in Ethiopia. And this is the Kullan they created. The British and the Americans sponsored, put mullahs to create this Kullan so that our nation could be destroyed along ethnic lines. Here is another orchestrator, assistant of mullahs. This is Herman Cohen. Supposedly complains about Nazis, but he doesn't do nasty things to Ethiopia. He is another one who sponsored mullahs to continue this apartheid program in Ethiopia. I predicted this. I have an op-ed article in the New York Times, April 24, 1996. This was gonna lead to the destruction of Ethiopia. And unfortunately, my prediction is coming true. This is CNN described a pointless savage war is finally over, CNN. And then the Nobel Prize, a consolation prize is given to Abiy. Why did we have the war in the first place? What is really the difference between Mallas and Isaiah? And what is even interesting is 784 billion in 2006 alone, this is a US report in the New York Times, was transferred from developing countries to the West. And here is Jacques Chirac talking about what he has done to Africa, the former French president. We drained Africa for 4.5 centuries. Next, we plundered its raw materials. After that, we said they Africans are good for nothing. In the name of religion, we destroyed their culture. And now, as we have to act with elegance, we are picking their brains with scholarship. Therefore, we are claiming that the unfortunate Africa is not a brilliant condition and is not making elite. Having enriched our back, we are now lecturing. Here is Desmond Tutu. He just recently passed away. When the missionaries came to Africa, they had the Bible and we had the land. They said, let us pray. We closed our eyes. When we opened them, we had the Bible and they had the land. And here is an Ethiopian official of what's happening. Ethiopia's alarming brain drain. I'm a very good, with all humility, I can claim to be one of those examples. One concerned Ethiopian government official said, the whole of Ethiopia's education baby is thought as being nothing more than a supplement to the corresponding American because it finances Ethiopia's brain drain to that country which deprives Ethiopia of the cream of educated manpower. The same official added, believe it or not, nearly 80% of Ethiopian students who go abroad on scholarship never return home. I was trained during Haile Selassie's time. Virtually everybody returned home. And then what? This is the TPLF. Instead of these kids carrying books, what are they carrying? They're carrying guns. This is Askari. These are bandas. And I would recommend that Ethiopians should get this book called Lords of Poverty, the Power, Prestige, and Corruption of the International Aid Business. They claim they give us $50,000 for Badme, and then they take $2 billion. A constant barrage of negative images in the media reinforces the prejudice of many that Africans are incapable of doing anything to help themselves. I have a lot of projects with China. I think we can dispel that shortly. These are the Ethiopian soccer team. Here is my son, Ethiopian soccer team with the Ethiopian flag. Here is my son carrying the Ethiopian flag. And he said to me, every time I think of this, I always cry, but truly. And I try not to do it now. My then 5-year-old son asked me, I hear that Ethiopia is in serious trouble, Daddy. You have a lot of resources. Why don't you help Ethiopia? I'll help you. What I have for Ethiopia, what I wish for Ethiopia is one country that is not divided by apartheid, one population, one people that live in harmony and in respect, one Queen Sheba's Fidel, Saba's Fidel, or Gi's Fidel, one national language, Amharic, and one flag. Ethiopia, ለዘላለም ትኑር. Ethiopia, let it live forever. Thank you.
በጣም እናመሰግናለን ፕሮፌሰር። For your information, he is a world-renowned virologist. He's a scientist, and he is also addicted to Ethiopia. እናመሰግናለን። እግዚአብሔር ያክብርህ። I yield back to Engineer Fissa to introduce the poet. Take it, Engineer.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Tilahun. That was really very kind of you, grateful of you to share your slides and everything. We honor for that. Thank you very much.
One information I want to give our guests is Professor Tilahun detests ethnic politics. He is an Ethiopian to his core, but ethnically he is 1/3 Amhara, 1/3 Oromo, 1/3 Tigray, and yet he's an Ethiopian. Okay, take it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that resembles with all of us.
You forgot my Gurage heritage.
Okay. Well taken. Yep, comment. Thank you very much indeed. So we've got another poem. Binyam, student, University of Bristol. electronic engineer, a bit like mine, in fact, many years back. So Binyam, please, okay, I think you've got, he wants to read a poem written by Laman Sisai. Laman Sisai, unfortunately, wasn't able to do it here. So we've got Binyam, maybe he's got another as well to share with us. Binyam, please, all yours.
Okay, thank you so much. I think I'm a little bit emotional. So if I'm emotional and nervous, please, I think, forgive me. So the first poem I'm going to read is in Amharic, and it's by laureate Tsaggaye ገብረመድህን. So the title of the poem is called Wa Adwa. Wa Adwa. Wa Adwa ሩቋ ያለት ምሰሶ የአድማስ ጥጓ ሰማይ ጠቀስ ጭጋግ ዳሷ አድዋ ባንቺ ህልውና በትዝታሽ ብጸና በመስዋዕትሽ ክንድሽ ዜና አበው ታደሙ እንደገና ዋ አድዋ የዘር አጽም ርስቷ የደም ትቢያ መቀነቷ በሞት ከባርነት ስርዓት በደም ለነጻነት ስለት አቦ የተሰውብሽ ዕለት አድዋ የክሩ ትውልድ ቅርሷ የኢትዮጵያዊነት ምስክሯ አድዋ የክሩ ደም ባንቺ ጽዋ ታድማ በመዘንበሏ አጽምሽ በትንሳኤ ነፋስ ደምሽ በነጻነት ዋስ ሲቀሰቀስ ትንሳኤዋ ተግ ስር ትር ስልትቢዋ ብር ትር ስር ጥሪዋ ድውልም ሲል ጋሻዋ ሲያስተጋባ ከበሮዋ ሲያስገመግም ዳኛ መድፋ ያባ መቻል ያባው ዳኛው ያባ በለው 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 ሲለው ዋ አድዋ ያቺን ጽዋ ያንቺን አይጣል ማስቻል ያለው አባ መቻል በዳኛው ልብ አባ መላው በገበየው ባባ ጎራው ባባ ነብሶ ባባ ቃኛው በለው 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 ዋ አድዋ አድዋ የትናንትናዋ የው ባንቺ ህልውና በትዝታሽ ብጸና በመስዋዕትሽ ክንድሽ ዜና በነጻነትሽ ቅርስ ዜና አበው ተነሱ እንደገና። ይሄ ግጥም የተወሰደው እሳት ወይ አበባ ከሚለው ከሎሬት ጸጋዬ ገብረመድህን የግጥም መድበል ላይ ነው። አመሰግናለሁ። በመቀጠል I'll be reading an English poem by Chancellor by the University of Manchester Chancellor Lemon Sisay. The Battle of Adwa, 1896. Preceding Adwa. Remember this, the Europeans carved up our homes with blood trust, not because we were the third world, but because we were the first. Because we held gold in our hearts, because we have diamonds for eyes, because oil runs through our veins and the blessing hung in our skies. Remember, when they scrambled in the conference in Berlin and callously carved Africa, searing each African skin, it was not just because of their greed or need to sow seed saturated with sorrow, but because through Africa's greatness, they envisioned their own great tomorrow. The beginning. Baratieri, the Italian general, had eyes instead of eyes and a tongue of 5 laser whips. Ras Alula was deafened by the whisper of lies that seeped from his lips through Alula's agents who could read the tone of Ethiopian winds. They whisper, we will catch the Italian advance before the advance begins. And with the anger that of lions and the swiftness of eagle's wings, Alula rose magnificent and rode to the foot of Milinik the king. With all their 5 generals, Milinik ruled 5 armies and damned attacks. It will take one strong Ethiopia to break their stiffened backs. Meantime, with pomp and primitive greed, the Italians embarked on their plan. They left for Adwa from Entisco with nighttime, a shroud for each man. Unbeknown, every step was recorded by Alula's silent, speedy spies who traced the battalion's movement through the reflections they left in the sky. The Italians, nothing the Ethiopian dawn as a clock for a surprise attack, had no knowledge the warriors were waiting and would give the surprise back. With all their 5 generals, Ras Alula whispered their armies and planned attacks. It will take one strong Ethiopia to break their brittle backs. The war. The Ethiopians advanced from below, a hero sacrifice for a country's love, suffice as they fell and blood spilled for another flank to rain from above, and so unveiled complex maneuvers of hope and honor or history, whose aim was the breaking of evil and the waking of victory. The Ethiopians from all provinces gathered with truthless protection, descended around ዓድዋ with justice and honor and unity as their weapon. The cracking, snapping of rattling rifle awoke the morning sun. From the regions the Italians poured fire. The Battle of ዓድዋ began with all their 5 generals. Ras Mengesha fought with their armies and their attacks. It will take one strong Ethiopia to snap their stiffened backs. The victory. It seemed the more Ethiopians were killed, then twice as many returned. The more they tried to drench their spirits, the more their spirits burned. It seemed as if amongst the red mist, each man that fell wounded rose again. Each breath of air rejuvenated his lungs. Each drop of blood seeped back to his veins. It seemed that the Ethiopians rose from the riverbeds, came from the shadows of mountains, with eyes of stone and dread, and Baratieri's general, sensing the beginning of the end, succumbed to the deafening whisper, "Surrender, surrender, surrender." Remember this. It was not one of Ethiopia, but Ethiopia's one. It was not part of the some that won, but part of everyone. It was not the hurt on its own, but its vein that pumped on. It was not just the warriors, but where they all from. Remember this. How the story washed across the continent and enslaved, flooded with the story of ዓድዋ in a whispered tidal wave. From Kenya to Senegal, from Morocco to the Gambia, the liberation began in ዓድዋ in 1896 and ended in South Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Binia. I'm so honored. That was so great. I was emotional, listening to all the poems you're reading. That was so great. Thank you very much indeed. So, Engineer Scale, come back again.
Thank you. That was wonderful, both in Amharic and in English. It was a balancing act, and another young man from England. So we're trying to balance it from the US and from England. Now I'm going to introduce a person that doesn't need an introduction, especially in England, in Europe, the famous poet Samama Muche. He has worked in a number of universities in Europe, including in the United Kingdom and in Denmark, and now his latest is in South Africa. He's a professor, and he's into technology and
መጠመዱንማ ተጠምዶ ነበረ ደመለኛው ወይፈን ማነቂያ ሰበረ ደመን ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ አገሬ ኢትዮጵያ ጥቁርም አይደለሽ ጥቁር ነሽ አሉ ነጭም አይደለሽ ነጭ ነሽ አሉ ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ ዱብ ዱብ ያለው እንደ በረዶ በልጅነቱ በረሃ ወርዶ በረሃ ዳሪ በሰው ጠመንጃ ወንዝ አሻጋሪ
ይሰማል ጥሩ ነው
you can practice your English also.
Okay, should I do it with English? Okay,
yes,
let me speak in English.
Yeah, that's
better.
Yes.
Okay. I just I really appreciate you for doing the ዓድዋ Great African Liberation annually. I think we should continue to celebrate it. We should not only celebrate it, we should also do some tangible output based on the ዓድዋ victory lessons. From that, what can we do to help us create a strong, united Africa? I think we should work on it, because what ዓድዋ victory did was those that were not united, that used to even fight with each other, when a foreign aggressor or enemy came, they, whatever differences they had, instead of being distracted by their differences, they decided to come together, unite, and did a strong, amazing strategy to defeat the enemy, and they did it decisively. And it's got a strong lesson, I think, for not just for us, for Ethiopia, but for even all those in the world that face this kind of challenge. So that's what Àድዋ victory has, this extraordinary recognition and distinction. And it actually continues, we call it, because as you know now, Ethiopia has always faced major difficulties, from all these external actors, although they have not formally colonized Ethiopia, but in various ways they have affected the Ethiopia's future and destiny. You can just take, for example, on the Grand Renaissance Dam, now we're struggling to have our own electricity and to use even our own water. There are about 11 treaties. In all these treaties, Ethiopia is excluded. It has never been included, despite the fact that most of the water comes from the Blue Nile. Ethiopia has not been included. The British, the Italians, the French, who wasn't involved? Almost all of them were involved. What did they do? They attacked Ethiopia. So Ethiopia, although we're not colonized, but we have always been under attack, and it's continuing. It hasn't stopped. So because of that, we do need the Àድዋ victory lesson very, very, very much, and that's what we should do. And another important thing is the current attack on the leadership, especially on Emperor Menelik, is also very, very, very really annoying very much. For us now to hear that in Addis, they didn't want to celebrate it where the Emperor Menelik's statue is there and the square is there is incredible. When we celebrated it in Cape Town, we actually had the Rastafarians and also many Africans. I was amazed that so many people from the rest of Africa participated and joined. I wish a lot of Ethiopians were able to see this, because it was amazing what I saw and what really happened. And we joined them, we participated together. And what was fascinating is the knowledge they have about Ethiopia and the knowledge they have about Àድዋ victory. Not only that, also the knowledge they have about the Second World War. I heard today some of the initial discussions about even Emperor Haile Selassie and so on. All this Second World War, everything it is amazing what they did. That knowledge was spreading, including even young people were there, children were even there. I mean, from different parts of Africa, they were all using the Ethiopian flag. I mean, everything, just amazing. It's a fascinating thing to see it. And I just came back. It is in Cape Town, which is a bit far away from where I am now in Pretoria. So we spent 2 days there, really doing it, and it was very, very, very good. The important thing I must say is that the leadership side, the way people talk about Emperor Menelik from our side, because of the ethnic division we have, is very, very wrong. Emperor Menelik, I must just give you some quotations of how other people have said about Emperor Menelik, and instead of appreciating and recognizing this extraordinary leader, they now are attacking him. And they created the Anole thing, if you know about that. Many strange things they have been doing, and this must be stopped, and this is not fair what has happened. I just want to tell you, a British one called Auguste Wade says, in the history of mankind, there has never been any other black man like Menelik who had triggered a lasting fear and doubt in the mind of all Europeans. They say that the victory of Àድዋ was not just a victory of Ethiopia over Italy. No, they said this is really an African victory, they called it. against Europe. And the Europeans themselves admitted in their press, they said, this is a defeat, not just of Italy, but the defeat of all of us. And that's what they have been saying. And they were accusing very strongly about the leadership quality that Emperor Menelik and his wife, Eteጌ ጣይቱ, all of them did. They were saying that, yeah. And let me just give you more quotations. Menelik, the great, inspired generations, yet unborn, with his daring defeat of the Italian army at the Battle of Àdዋ. He tried diplomacy and experienced cunning. He showed character and got, in return, snobbery and lies. And when he saw the signs of war, he rallied Ethiopian forces to defeat the enemy on African soil. This became one of the most important lessons of African history. This is also one of the Molete Kete Asante. It's a book called Author of the History of Africa. He put it like that about him. Let me give you more. In 1896, it was evident that Europeans, even those who said they were the friends of Ethiopia, would come together and betray Menelik after the Treaty of Wuchale. Africans were encouraged by the ultimate victory of Menelik's genius and the courage of his soldiers on the battlefield. Let our youth never forget the many heroes of our victories. Let our nations raise monuments to them in every city to teach lessons of resistance, selflessness, and African unity. This is what they say. And it's very important where we are now here in South Africa. We are trying to build Menelik Square, or all Menelik roads and many things like that, so that we also already in the place where I am in Pretoria, there's as a Menelik, as a Haile Selassie road. There's if you go to two places, I noticed, I have been seeing it, they have things like that. In fact, here in South Africa, they recognize and appreciate. And in Ethiopia, I don't know what's happening with all these ethnic war divisions that we have. We are attacking the people who should not be attacked. And this is very, very important. Let me just give you more. Why I say this to you now is we should really challenge what they did. The current officials, I don't know, this guy who is called a culture minister or some whatever, what he did, not to say that it should the Àdዋ Victory Day should not be in the Menelik Square. I mean, this is not good. If the American President John F. Kennedy, the French President Jacques Chirac, Muammar Gaddafi all recognize Ace Menelik as the greatest African leader for ably leading and winning the Àdዋ victory to make Africa free, why are some in current Ethiopia use ethnic bias and fail to recognize this great African leader? This is very, very important, because even we heard that Gaddafi he had a picture all the time as a Menelik's picture, as a great leader, as a great African leader. I mean, he did. And all of them have acknowledged him very well. So all I'm simply saying, why I mentioned this to you is that as Menelik has been known to be very, very strong, and he has not, what has he not done also? Many, not just the victory of Àdዋ, but he has done many things. So we should appreciate whatever mistake all of us make mistakes, we're all humans, but the key achievements they made should not be really rejected by politics. Politics is not clean. It's very unclean. Politicians, I really, what I see, they are very complicated. Because of that, I really appreciate all of you to be very strong, and let's now try to use these negative things we hear from these people to make sure that we value, appreciate, and recognize the real achievements that the leadership, the quality leadership they left for giving us the great Àdዋ victory. This Àdዋ victory is not just our victory, it's a victory of Africa. We actually created what we call AGAVA, Àdዋ Great African Victory Association. And we are working on it very much, where we are thinking of creating a handbook. We're thinking of really creating very, very strong things. All the education, Pan-African University, many things like that around this, so that the Adwa victory continues. It should not stop until we are all united, until Africa is really united. Adwa victory.
Thank you, Professor Mamo. If you can wrap it up, and also if you can integrate it to the Fairfield House. We are also trying to create awareness towards the Fairfield House, and if you
አገሬ ኢትዮጵያ ኩሪ ይገባሻል ታውደኑና አራዳማን ማነው አራዳኛው ሀገሬ ኢትዮጵያ ኩሪ ይገባሻል የማያስደፍሩ ጀግና ልጅ ወልደሻል ደመን ማነው ወረደኔው አራዳማን ማነው አንተ መንገደኛ ልጠይቅህ ወሬ ከአባቴ ባድማ ተጠምዷል ወይ በሬ መጠመዱንማ ተጠምዶ ነበረ ደመለኛው ወይፈን ማነቂያ ሰበረ ደመን ማነው ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ አገሬ ኢትዮጵያ ጥቁርም አይደለሽ ጥቁር ነሽ አሉ ነጭም አይደለሽ ነጭ ነሽ አሉ ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ ዱብ ያለው እንደ በረዶ በልጅነቱ በረሃ ወርዶ በረሃ ዳሪ በሰው ጠመንጃ ወንዝ አሻጋሪ ሱሪ ዝቅ ፀጉር ፈተላ አሬት መጣብኝ ይወሮ በላ እዚህ ቁጭ ብሎ ደም ከሚያፈላ ስደደው አባይ ገድቦ ይብላ በላታ ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ እያሽመሌ ባለች ቀጭነች ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፋት አረጃሎ ባላ አራዳማን ማነው አራዳኛው ታውደኑና አራዳማን ማነው አራዳኛው ዘራፍ አካኪ ዘራፍ አሁንም ዘራፍ ጥቅም ዘራፍ ማን ይነካታል የጀግናን በራፍ ዘራፍ ተወዶ ዘራፍ ሲታጠቅ ልቡ አይሸበር ሆዱ አይጨነቅ ከጥላት ጋራ የሚደባለቅ ጠላት ሲመጣ እንደንፈርሶ ቁጭ ብሎ ቆየው 30 ጉርሶ በ30ም 30 ገሎ ገባበት ውጅም ጓንጫ ወድሮ አረ ካጅሬ የጠባው ጥጃ አንዱን በጥፊ አንዱን በርግጫ ሩበላተ ራበላተ እኛ እንግሊዞች እኛ ጣሊያኖች የቸገራቸው በጎንደር ቢሉ ማን ሊፈራቸው መይሳው አስሮ መድፍ አሰራቸው መድፉም ይገኛል ዳፋት ያለው ደብረ ታቦር ላይ ዳፋት ያለው ያነ መድፋቸው ለውርደታቸው ምስክር ነው ሮበልዬ የዛ ጀግና ዘር የዛ ሰውዬ በረጅን አልቢን ያሰኛል ወዬ ሮበላት መላው ጠፍታቸው ሲደናገሩ ለተንኮላቸው ጎጀን ይዳሉ ጎጃም ሽፈራው በላይ ሽፈራው ተቀበላቸው እያቆረጡ አባይ ጣላቸው አራይሰማ ሮበላት ያውታቸው ሲደናገሩ ለተንኮላቸው ሲደናገሩ ለርቀታቸው ወሎ እንዲዳሉ ወሎስ ቢሄዱ ንጉሥ ሚካኤል ተቀበላቸው አጼ ምኒልክ የዓድዋው ጀግና ከጣይቱ ጋር ጠላት የመታ ስሙ ይነሳል በሁሉም ቦታ ማለት ሴራው ይክሸፍበት ማማ የመጣብሽ አድማ እግሩ ሳር ያድርገው ጉልበቱን ቀጤማ አይሰማም ካቀባበለብሽ ብረት ከደገነ አምላክ ሊያግዝልሽ ላንቺ የወገነ ሴራው ይክሸፍበት የመጣብሽ አድማ እግሮ ሳር ያድርገው ጉልበቱን ቀጤማ ጸሎትሽ ይሰማ አምላክ ይለመንሽ ፈተናው አይለቅ የሚፈታተንሽ አንገትሽ ራስሽን ችሎ ለየውና ማግስቱን ይውሰደኝ 10 ሞት ይምጣና እስካለኝ እማማ ላንቺ የማይተኙ የማያንገላፉ ቁም ይበሉ እንደ ጉም ከምድረ ገጽ ይጥፉ። ኢትዮጵያ ለዘላለም ከፍ ትበል። እወዳቸዋለሁ። አመሰግናለሁ።